Hello, dear leaders. It's really exciting to talk to you again this week on our channel, Biblical Leadership Institute. If you're blessed and want others to be blessed also, please subscribe and share. You can also read my latest book on leadership titled 10 Pragmatic Leadership Principles from the Bible. I will leave a purchase link in the description below. Today's topic is not new to us. In fact, you might be going through, or at least know someone who's currently going through this. It has haunted humanity since the beginning, and it is continuing to do so. Sometimes referred to as phobias, panic attacks, etc. Fear is not uncommon to all of us. What is fear? How should people of faith approach and deal with fear? Should we fear at all in the first place? We'll discuss all of this when we meet again on the other side. Before we talk about fear itself, please note that the Bible provides two types of references to fear. One is fearing God, which is not being scared of God, but it denotes respect and reverence. It's like saying fearing the law, which means you're not scared of the law, but obeying the law. So please understand, we are not talking about the fear of God, but the fear that scares us and keeps us from becoming better persons. I would like to talk about three facts that I believe will help you understand and also eliminate things that are causing fear in you. Number one, please understand negativity fuels fear. I'm sure you know someone who's always pessimistic in their approach. These are the people who always expect bad things to happen and are always living in some sort of fear. For example, let me say I decide to step outside and walk like 5 blocks for a walk. I can expect to meet my neighbors walking their dog. If so, I can smile and greet them. I can pet their dog, talk to them, and continue my walk. And when I decide to return, I turn around and go on my way back home. Now, let's talk about the bad things that could happen in the same example. Now, when I step out, I bump into my neighbors and their dog is off its leash. It can start chasing me and I would then run frantically across the road. A speeding car could run over me and I can be dead or seriously injured. In the first instance, I expected a pleasant and peaceful walk, whereas in the second instance, I expected everything to go wrong. If you notice, my negativity or pessimism, as it's called, will fuel fear in me and will make me not step outside of the house at all. So what are we learning here? Everything that we do has a positive or an optimistic side to it, as well as a negative or pessimistic side to it too. If you're someone who is constantly being negative about everything, then you are in a way training your brain to be fearful about everything. We've read this same verse in a different context earlier on, Proverbs 22:13. The lazy person claims, "There's a lion out there. If I go outside, I might be killed." Yes, the wise man talks about how a lazy person justifies his laziness, quoting a bizarre possibility of a lion roaming the streets, and that lion choosing to attack and kill him alone if he steps outside. What is the probability of a lion roaming the city streets? Yet, negativity can bring such crazy fears and eventually make you live your whole life in fear. So, if you are suffering from fear, then this is your time to introspect and see if you have a pessimistic view on everything. You can ask someone that you can trust and see if they feel you are a negative person. But most definitely, you will realize that your pessimism is actually fueling your fear. And if you start looking at things with an optimistic perspective, your fears would slowly fade away. In the book of Esther, there is a mention of a person named Haman who plotted to kill all the Jews and got a sign off from King Xerxes to proceed with his evil mission. Queen Esther resolved to set things straight and decided to approach the king without a prior appointment. She knew that her action could get her killed. If you talk about being negative, this is probably one of those scenarios one should be super confident that things will not work their way. Yet, Esther knew amidst the cloud of negativity, there is a slight possibility that the king could heed to her and save her family from the sword. She counted on the tiniest optimism and proceeded to the king and thought he might give her a chance to make him understand. So embarked on this massively dangerous mission to save her kindred by placing her head on the line. So your first step to eliminating your fear is to stop being negative and start being optimistic, expecting good things to happen and proceeding in life with that attitude. You will notice that in some time, your fears would have slowly vanished. Secondly, fear manipulates your brain. Yes, it does, to make you believe and fear unreasonable things. Have you ever noticed that your room in your house suddenly becomes scary after you watch a horror movie? Until then, you did not have a problem walking into any part of your house without fear. But after the movie, you imagine something is following you or something is going to jump at you. This is because you trained your brain to be fearful by watching a horror movie. The brain came to know that a ghost jumping out of the closet can be a reality as shown in the movie and warns you through fear. The bottom line is there is no ghost or anything scary around, but it's your brain that manipulates fear or fear that manipulates the brain, and you become the victim finally. So understand there is nothing to be feared that exists in reality. It's only your perception that makes you fearful. If you ask a person to swim across a river, they will without any problem. After they reach the other side of the river, if you scare them off by saying the river is infested with alligators, they would refuse to swim again. Why? They just swam across without a problem, but when fear is induced, they refuse. It's not whether alligators are really there or not. The point to be noted is whether fear would stop them from proceeding. So take heart. Your fear that you are currently struggling with is actually something that is non-existent. You are assuming something is there or is there not, and that is causing the fear. John 14:27 says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." Jesus is requesting us to not let our hearts be troubled and be afraid. He is not blaming the world, Satan, or anything external, but us to not let our hearts be troubled, which means we have the authority to let or not let ourselves be afraid. The lesson is simple. Do not let fear manipulate your brain. Thirdly and lastly, faith and fear do not go together. Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other." You cannot serve God and money. Very similarly, faith and fear cannot live together. They are mutually exclusive. Remember, I have said this so many times in the past that there is no point in having faith without putting it into action. faith is not what we have. Instead, it is what we demonstrate. So if faith takes a greater position in our lives, obviously fear will have to give way. It's like light and darkness. The very fact that there is a presence of darkness is a sign that light is absent. Almost all of the scripture and the sayings of Jesus Christ are towards how to not be fearful but be faithful. If after hours of prayer, plenty of Bible reading, so many sermons, if we still have fear, it's high time we evaluate our faith and see if our faith is strong enough to overcome the fear. It might be easy for me to say all of this, but in practice, I understand it's very difficult to comprehend the fear many of you are going through. And that's why I encourage you to start looking at faith as something that you use in your daily lives, not something that you hear on Sunday services or in your daily morning devotion. 1 John 4:18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. I invite you to experience the love of God, which will drive away all the fears. And please note that according to the words of Jesus himself, whoever fears has not been perfected in love. And the love mentioned here is the pure, sacred love of God. In summary, I think I was able to help you understand what fear is, how negativity and pessimism increase the fear in you, how fear can manipulate your brain to make you live in fear about things that are non-existential, and how fear is the opposite of faith and perfect love will drive fear away. We all know this verse, Romans 8:28, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. It takes a lot of faith to comprehend this verse because it means whether good or bad, happy or sad, profit or loss, everything happens for good to them that love God. If you understand the essence of this verse and live by it, then there is no need to fear because everything happens for good. Why then fear? Until we meet again next week, this is John signing off. God bless you.